All right, so first things first, happy Canada Day to all my fellow Canadians, as well as let's go les Canadiens, you know? So Fujifilm announced a couple of firmwares in the past few weeks, so we're gonna chat about that. But first, let me go get a coffee. I'm good now. Alright, so first let's talk about the Fujifilm XS10. So with the XS10 you will be able to shoot tethered to a computer if you're using Lightroom as well as Capture One. So if you're shooting in a studio, well, that's going to be a good thing, and as well as on location if you bring your laptop with you. Now I did try it myself and it does work really good. We also now have gimbal compatibility, so we can have communication from the XS10 to the gimbal so we can start and stop recording as well as focus using the gimbal. And then lastly, for the XS10 we have function specific locking. So if you're shooting, again, let's say in a studio, and then you didn't want to bump up your shutter speed, so you can go into the menu and then lock that shutter speed so that even if you rotate the command dial, the shutter speed won't change. And then you can do the same thing for aperture and other settings like that. Now let's talk about the GFX100. Now there's a lot of updates in this, but I'm going to cover the ones that I think that are the most exciting. So first we have improvement in terms of autofocusing, so it brings it on par with the GFX100S. So the boost AF as well as face and eye detection and then motion tracking will be improved again to match up with the GFX100S. We now have the IBIS mechanism working in conjunction with the OIS from lenses so that you can get an increase of stabilization of 0.5 stops in terms of stabilization. We now have the nostalgic negative added into the GFX100, so that's a welcome addition because truthfully I really enjoyed the look of that nostalgic negative. Now the level of the clarity setting can be adjusted to -5 or +5, as well as the tone curve can now be changed in 0.5 increments. The focus limiter feature is available on the GFX100 now. And then in the video side of things, we do have an electronic stabilization. So it will zoom in into the frame a little bit and then will make your footage even more stable. You can now also back up your footage when recording videos onto the second card. So if you have two cards in the camera, you can set it as a backup so that you have the footage recorded on both the first and the second card. That's a game saver. The AF area size can now be changed in the video mode, which is a welcome addition if you want to really get a close-up of something and pinpoint your focus. That will be very handy to have. Now the video captured in F-Log can be reviewed in the playback menu with a preview of a Rec 709 image, so that gives you an idea of how the footage is going to look. So that's a welcome addition as well. And then lastly, for the GFX100, we have the metadata for the white balance as well as the ISO whenever we're recording in RAW, ProRes RAW, so that it can be brought up into your editor. And then you can have all this information for even more latitude when editing. Now moving on to the GFX100S, we also have that same point which I just mentioned, which is the metadata for the ISO as well as the white balance. And then we also get improvements on the custom mode functions. And then we also get some minor bug fixes. And then speaking of bug fixes, we have some more firmware updates for the XT4, XT3, X Pro 3, XE4, XT200, and XA7, which will all fix some minor bugs. And then if you want the full list of everything that's changed in these firmwares, I would suggest you go to the Fujifilmfirmware.com and then you go to your specific camera and then you click on the firmware update and then you can read all the details about the firmware updates and also download them. Now another way you can update your camera is through the camera mode app, so I highly suggest you download it. Whenever you open up the app will automatically look for the firmware on your camera and then the available firmware, and will give you a notification if there's a new one available, and then from there you can download it and then also install it onto your camera. All right, so that wraps it up for this video. I hope this was helpful. Now, if you're not subscribed to the channel and you would like to know more about these and other Fujifilm products, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And then for now, go Abs go, on lâche pas.